Oh, there he goes. Let's get in the other ones. All right, there he goes. What? YouTube? Daijobu. Alright. Setting data, streaming, and there we go. The last one. There we go. Okay. Well. Continuing or starting off, kicking off, I'm not too sure. Last time we did this, we saw Princess Mononoke in 4K. That was pretty cool. I believe that was a different event. As of right now, I believe we are kicking off Ghibli Fest 2025. And that's something cool, man. I mean, again, it's one of those more bringing nostalgia back into the fold of our current generation. And while that is good in the sense of we're keeping our history alive and we're learning the things we used to learn, it also kind of hits this, again, this spot of like, what are we doing? Again, it's a little rough to kind of believe that we're able to create such wonderful stories when we look at just how beautiful they used to be and just how things have changed in their current timelines. But again, I'm getting a little bit too potato with myself. So why don't we go ahead and start off by saying, hey, it's your boy, EXP 606 Stitch, here, having fun, reviewing some cool movies. Today just happens to be Studio Ghibli's The Secret World of Arrietty. And what a world, what a world. I didn't really know much about this film. Again, we're doing this Studio Ghibli tour 2025 because I know of Ghibli, I've seen a couple of his films, but I feel like I haven't given him the right reverence that he actually deserves when it comes to the stories that are being told in this narratives. And I really felt that way with Princess Mononoke. I think Mononoke was like the first time, well, I guess the play for Spirited Away is kind of always good, but the play for Spirited Away kind of got me emotionful. And then watching Princess Mononoke and just kind of the themes that really hit with that one inspired me, right? And that's not something I get to say every day. Inspiration is so fleeting that it's almost scary to find it because you're like, ah, shit, well, there he goes. But regardless, Ghibli, Miyazaki, had a story to tell. And what story may it be? We have Arrietty, which is essentially something called a borrower. And all that really means is that there is a separate world aside from the human world where, quote unquote, little people have to survive by borrowing normal household items. And whether that's supposed to mean that they are borrowing or if there's some kind of like, let's call it a plantation, what's the word called? The fucking triangle. Corporate scheme happening, you know, where they basically kind of like overcharge the farmers to use their land, and when the farmers have to pay the rent for their land, they're like, ah, shit, we barely even have enough for ourselves. So that is what that is right there. But regardless, still a very fascinating place to be. I believe a lot of the kind of the emotional beats in this one are very straightforward. I don't know if that's just me kind of understanding where Ghibli's at now these days, but just the idea of this child who has everything, hypothetically, aside from his health, right? Which is like the biggest thing in the universe. If you're not healthy, you can't do what you like. You can't be who you want to be. And unfortunately for this young lad, he realizes just how limited his, let's call it his reach is. And well, and it gets interesting though, because it's like at certain points, this kid wants to protect and provide for Arrietty and her family, right? But it's hard for someone who's not from her world, her universe, someone who hasn't, let's say, struggled as much as she has, to just be normal about the way they live their lives. And it's not even that they're judging how they live, it's just more of the idea is that the way that he lives in his big house, in his big mansion, in his big aristocratical household is not compatible with her lifestyle. That is not who she is, that's not who she wants to be, at least hypothetically in the series, in the movies, what I was getting vibes of. But the hell is that part doing there? Jesus, man, Joseph. But it's interesting regardless, right? We see, again, we talked about the ego of the man, and sometimes it can be a positive force, i.e. being the protector, the caregiver, the provider, not necessarily actually giving you things, but like giving you emotional support, giving you a safe place to stay, to feel content, giving you the comfort of knowing that you are in a safe place, or at least someone who will be there to protect you, or blah, 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 blah. And while that can very easily be a egotistical, like, center position from the man, or any love feeling person, i.e. yanderes, thank God for yanderes, it's still, it takes a very developed, emotionally developed mind to be able to understand that any interaction that I make with you might be for the detriment, because this is me imposing my world views on your world. And if one is not too careful with that kind of communication, you could easily lose the person that you fell in love with simply by changing them for the negative, by trying to force your own reality or your way of things, or your mannerisms, or what's it called, your will, into someone who wasn't ready to accept those feelings, or willing to even be in that context with your emotions. And that's where things get really fascinating, because not only does Arrietty have to kind of come with these understandings of like, oh, well, even though I might want something like this, it's not natural for me, or it's not normal for me, or even just when it gets to the point where the kid like really gets potato and goes like, oh, you're a dying species. So then it becomes even a bigger question of like, whoa, what is her responsibility in this dying universe as the symbolism of continuous life? What is the responsibility, or what is the desire of the one who carries that on her shoulders? And I don't think we got too deep into that. I feel like that's kind of something that I would have liked to see more, her kind of struggle of being like this quote unquote single hope for her race. But I think we've also heard specifically from Miyazaki that he doesn't know how to write woman. And those are his words, not mine. But I believe he's said that before in interviews, and it was after hearing that and seeing how Arrietty kind of portrays herself, and also seeing how Arrietty's mother portrays herself, really kind of gave me that revelation of what he was saying. Very true, because Arrietty, for the most part, I feel is very tomboyish, which again feels like a dude. She is the one that wants to make her father proud. Her father is the one that goes out and goes scavenging for the borrowing tools, but she wants to present herself as just as useful and helpful as her father. So she tries to become like her father, i.e. tomboy city. And then you have her mother, which is sweet, yes, for all intents and purposes, but almost like a damsel in distress turned up to 11. Like she doesn't do much in this story aside from like making you feel panic that she's in danger. So that's something there. Okay, so I can kind of see how like Miyazaki really had that kind of like that pressure on himself. Like it's like, oh dude, I don't know anything about women, so I'm not gonna try to like force my view on them. I'm just gonna like write what I write and let it happen. And I can kind of see it now, especially if he said it out loud. I can understand where he's coming from. I don't think it necessarily makes the movie terrible. It just feels like we could have gotten something more deeper for the ladies, but understandably so, because it's Miyazaki. I don't think he had either the right is a strong word, but like that kind of wasn't really able to speak from a position of like confidence, specifically not really understanding females. God damn it, Miyazaki, have a taste once in a while, damn it. But it's interesting, yeah, to see how these characters are presented, and then how these characters, or at least Arrietty, has to deal with romance, because yes, she does have a second character interest, and that comes in the form of another little homie, which is pretty cool. I don't know, it's just kind of cool. And obviously, like he's like the movie does an interesting job of presenting him in a certain light. He feels very tribal. Like he has long hair, he's darker skin, and then the movie starts playing like this weird, like, I don't know, like this weird tribal kind of like BGM in the background. And it really sells the idea of like, oh, this is a guy from a different clan, from the outside areas, and but this is her race. This is her, quote unquote, her future, if she is willing to accept this world, rather than this world with this giant dude that's about to die or something like that. I still don't know what his deal is, but it's rough on his end as well. So we do get that. We do get this interesting little moment of like debate, internal conflict of like, what is her future? Like, what does she want? What is she able to do realistically, right? Something logical that needs to be processed, not just with emotions, but with logic. My fucking race is dying, and I kind of like being alive, but this dude has nothing to do with us, is trying to be like, yo man, why don't you stick with us? And unfortunately, the good times cannot stay good, such as summer days, baby. Because there's another character. I don't want to get too into it, but here we go. From the moment we start this film, this chick, from the moment we start this film, we have the introduction of a character that is, for all intents and purposes, just a waste of space. And I mean that in the nicest way, because we opened up the film by having you drive up to a house, and as you're driving up, this old lady and the sick boy have to park the car outside of the house because this annoying lady keeps on parking in the middle of the driveway. And from the moment that was presented, the first reaction in my brain was like, wait, so this chick does not give a fuck about anybody else but herself. Unfortunately, and realistically so, there are certain people in the universe that are just so tiny, that just are so small here and in here, that the only way they can make themselves feel some sort of sense of accomplishment or power or pride or joy, God forbid joy, the only way they find this is by pushing other people down, by making the smaller person feel smaller, or at least trying to inflate their own ego by abusing the weaker or the smaller or the more vulnerable, let's call it. And that's when everything clicked for me. That's when I had inclinations from the beginning, fuck that bitch. But that's when it all kind of came together. The fact that, yes, there are poor people in the universe. Yes, there are people just struggling to survive on a day-to-day basis. Yes, there are rich-ass motherfuckers who have way more money than they know what to do with, i.e., there's a kid who's dying and his parents can't even take the time to spend time with him. And C, yes, there are those hired hands who would do anything to take what they feel should have been given to them. And unfortunately, we're there. That is where we're at. We have a character who is just very, very content with the idea of capturing, isolating, and torturing beings who are smaller than her. And it's, you know, it does something for us, the viewer, to have an opposing force. You know, you look at the lady with her stupid glasses and you go like, oh yeah, I hope she, you know, fuck her up or whatever. You hope some kind of justice falls upon this terrible human creature, or this terrible creature pretending to be a human. And you start hoping for negativity. And that's genius. And that's genius because you're supposed to be better than that. You're supposed to feel for the little people in this world, and you're supposed to see how fucked up that stupid lady is, and you're supposed to understand that she has nothing, not even family, not even friends, probably someone who wants to hang out with her, not even that, because she has created her life in such a way that she is no longer able to appreciate the little things. A heart filled with hate cannot create love. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Ghibli was trying to tell us. I believe, in my humble opinion. You got a little Ghibli out there trying to represent his worldviews, his lives, and I like it, man. It's charming. It's different. It's like seeing into the mind of someone who was born 20 years ago. Not necessarily born in life, but born through progress, through emotions, through life situations, and he just had to get it out of his system. He just, bam, planted in there, and no one's saying it's a 10 out of 10, right? Clearly, I would have liked more of a female, introspective, like real, honest female, like life or death situation reflection. But I also appreciate what the man did, what he was trying to go for, and what he had with all his kind of like his tools, all the tools that are available to him in both writing and in artistic sense. He created this as a hope, as a maybe like a love letter, or maybe as a farewell to the girl who got away, the one who got away. So, with all that being said, Studio Ghibli Fest 2025. First one on the list, I believe it was right here, Secret World of Arrietty. The boys and I will be continuing to go watch Studio Ghibli films, so that's going to be something that we're going to be doing like step by step. Again, we have the film reflections that just went up, but for Studio Ghibli, I'm going to do its own thing. I'm going to let it be like a series, because this is my first time watching the Studio Ghibli films, like, period. like all the original stuff, that's gonna be a first for me. And I'm genuinely excited to see who this, I was gonna say Hideo Kojima, who this Hideo Miyazaki, Miyazaki is, and what his vision was back then, where we are right now, and where we can maybe go in the future. So, pretty good stuff. Again, it's nice to see how vibrant and beautiful and lush, and how when he wants to present something amazing, or he wants to impact your universe by presenting you beauty from our universe, he gets the job done. So, definitely. They charged me for it. It's over. G-Kids is now charging for anime films, so everything I said about G-Kids being cool, scratch that. They're on the same boat as Sony Pictures now. But yeah, go check it out. It takes time to bring these around. I guess it takes money to replay these films, and I think it's good to see where we were, who we were, where we come from again. And this is gonna be one of those like magnum opuses of what it meant to be an anime enjoyer, a Studio Ghibli fan back in the day. What did that do for Walt Disney? Because again, I didn't get to watch Studio Ghibli in Walt Disney era. That was just not in the cards. I think maybe we saw a little bit of Totoro, and that was it. It was not in the cards for me. But seeing them now in this generation, and how that maybe inspires future titles, maybe future animes, maybe a Hollywood-inspired anime adaptation of something. Things are out there, man. I'm still saying it. Tom Cruise, Akira. Let's freaking go. You don't have to be Akira. You don't have to be Tetsuo. You don't have to be Canada, Tom Cruise. You just gotta hire someone who can. You gotta hire the people who can do the job. You can do it. I believe in you, Tom Cruise. Fucking Akira, let's freaking go. Come on, let's freaking do it. So, looking forward to that. Looking forward to more, and definitely looking forward to seeing Miyazaki's masterpieces in the year of our Lord 2025. So, with all that being said, if you're excited, if you want to see what else is happening in the future, or if you want to catch us up with some gameplay, stick around. Be cool. And I hope to see you again in the future. But until then, stay cool. Hasta la próxima. Ciao. Mátame.